Today I'm going to read Until I Met Dudley, How Everyday Things Really Work. I thought I knew how a toaster worked. When you put the slices of bread into the toaster and push the handle down, an alarm goes off on the ground, alerting the toast gnomes who spring into action. A friendly dragon toasts the bread with his fiery breath, although sometimes he breathes too hard. Cogwheels and conveyor belts, treadmills and telescopes. It's all so simple. Until I met Dudley. Dudley showed me how a toaster works. 1. A toaster needs electricity to work. So, check it's plugged in and that the power is switched on. Pop a slice of bread, or two if you're hungry, into the slots in the top. The bread nestles inside the toaster on a rack that is attached to a spring. Number 2. Zip! When you pull the toaster handle down, the spring stretches and the rack moves down. Click! The rack is now locked in position with a small catch. 3. The electricity zooms along the wires woven together, called heating elements, either side of the bread. They are so hot they start to glow, heating up the soft bread and turning it into toast. Number 4. When the elements heat up, so does a strip inside the toaster. As it's made of two different metals, it's called a bimetallic strip. When it gets hot, one of the metals expands more than the other. This makes it bend so it touches the tripping plate. Number 5. As soon as the bimetallic strip and tripping plates touch, pow! They make an electric circuit or path. Number 6. Then the electricity surges along the path into an electromagnet. As the electric current passes through the magnet, it trips the catch that holds down the rack. Then boing! The rack springs up and pop! Out comes tasty toast. Pass the marmalade, Dudley. I thought I knew how a dishwasher worked. You load the dishwasher, put in the detergent and switch it on. The switch is linked to a special siren which emits a high-pitched whistle that can only be heard by cats. At the signal, all the cats in the neighbourhood come running to your home and climb into the machine through the specially designed cat flap at the back. That's the banging you can hear. They lick all the plates, cups, pans and cutlery clean, singing happily to themselves. That's the humming you hear. When everything is spick and span, they leave, last one out, sprinkling the detergent around the machine to get rid of any catty smells. Until I met Dudley. Dudley showed me how a dishwasher works. 1. Before pressing the start button, always fill the dishwasher dispensers with a cleaner called detergent and a liquid called rinse aid. Don't forget to check there's enough salt in the salt container to help remove the tiny specks of calcium from the water. 2. Once the machine is loaded and switched on, it controls the whole washing process by working through a step-at-a-time program. Step 1. Cold water gushes into the bottom of the machine through a small inlet pipe. Number 3. Next step, click. An electric pump pushes the water out through the spray arms. These whiz round very fast like garden sprinklers, spraying the water over the dishes and getting rid of those blobs of ketchup, ugh, leftover bits of Brussels sprouts, yuck, and other food. Number 4. Then the dirty water drains down through a hole covered with a sieve-like filter. This works like a fishing net, catching all the bits of food that have been washed off the dishes. Remember to clean the filter from time to time, removing any food that it's still there. Number 5. So what happens to all that dirty water? It disappears through another pipe called an outlet pipe. Gurgle, gurgle, and eventually into the drain outside. Click. Clean water rushes into the bottom of the machine. This mixes with the detergent, heats up and sprays out the whizzing arms to clean the dishes. 6. Whoosh. Cold water pours in again and mixes with the rinse aid liquid to rinse the detergent off the dishes. The mixture heats up, sprays out, and then drains away through the outlet pipe, leaving the dishes to dry. I thought I knew how a fridge worked. Special polar bears arrive every night to deliver blocks of ice cut from icebergs floating in the oceans of the Arctic. They pack the fridge with the ice and make sure everything is cold enough before leaving, which explains those paw prints in the chocolate mousse. As the ice begins to melt, water runs down the back of the fridge into a secret compartment at the bottom. Here it flows into a water wheel, which drives a fan that spins cool air to keep the fridge cold. Until I met Dudley. Dudley showed me how a fridge works. 1. The fridge is a big box which keeps food cold so it stays fresh longer. It uses an ingredient called a refrigerant which runs round and round pipes hidden in the walls of the fridge. 2. On its journey around the maze of pipes, the refrigerant moves heat from the inside of the fridge, keeping it cool. It does this by changing from a runny liquid to an invisible gas. The refrigerant begins its journey as a gas. It is then compressed by an electric pump called a compressor. The compressor squeezes the gas into a small space where at high pressure it starts to turn into a liquid. 4. The gas changes to liquid, gives off heat as it's pumped through a long snake-like tube called a condenser. On the outside of the fridge, heat passes through the tube into the open air like heat coming out of a radiator. That's why the back of a fridge feels hot. 5. Then, as the cold liquid flows into the wider tube in the evaporator, the pressure falls and, hey presto, the liquid turns back into gas. Number 6. Brrr. The cold gas starts to absorb all the heat from inside the fridge, like a bath sponge absorbing water. That's how the fridge is kept so cool inside. 7. The warm gas now continues its journey through a pipe, back to the compressor pump where it begins another cycle round the fridge. I thought I knew how a vacuum cleaner worked. Dust is the favourite food of the Hoover snake. He sleeps curled up inside the tube until the vacuum cleaner is switched on. He has a huge appetite and is a noisy eater, gobbling up all the dust, crumbs, buttons and Lego he can find. When a Hoover snake's full, he waits until midnight, then slithers outside and sneezes. Trouble is, he always leaves the door wide open, so the wind blows and the dust back in. Until I met Dudley. Dudley showed me how a vacuum cleaner works. 1. A vacuum cleaner is powered by a mini motor that runs on electricity. So before switching it on, it needs to be plugged into a nearby socket. Once the motor is running, it turns the fan round and round. As the fan spins, it pushes air out of the vacuum cleaner through a tube called a duct. 3. Because air is pushed out of the cleaner, air gets sucked in to take its place, just like water being sucked up through a straw. And as air gets sucked up through the hose, so does dirt and dust. Schlup. All this dust is then sucked into a bag. But where does the air go? It escapes through tiny holes in the walls of the bag. The dirt and dust are trapped inside. They're too big to get through the holes. 6. The bag fills up and after a while needs emptying or replacing. If you don't keep an eye on it, it becomes so full that it bursts. This is an upright vacuum cleaner. Instead of a hose, it has a roller with tiny stiff brushes sticking out of it. The roller spins the brushes round and round, which beat the carpet, unsettling any dust. This is then sucked into the cleaner. I thought I knew how a rubbish truck worked. Pigs are kept inside the truck. The rubbish is emptied into the troughs at the back where they gorge themselves. They're the happiest pigs in the world. Until I met Dudley. Dudley showed me how a rubbish truck really works. 1. A rubbish truck is a big bin on wheels, usually worked by a team of 3 or 4 people. The driver sits in the cab. He keeps the engine running to provide the power for the rubbish truck to do its job. 2. The other refuse collectors in the team pick up rubbish bins and heave them onto the platform at the back of the truck. Clonk, clink, clunk, clamps hold the bins firmly so they can't fall off. The platform powered by the truck's engine swings up, whirr, and tips the rubbish out of the bins into the truck. Then the platform swings down so the refuse collections can lift off the empty bins and put them back where they belong. 4. Inside the back of the truck there is a wide scoop which operates like a huge hand. It is attached to a powerful arm called a hydraulic ram. The ram and scoop work together, crunch, squish, scooping and squashing the rubbish into the truck. 5. Once the truck is full of rubbish, it is driven to the depot where it's emptied. The driver presses another button, and the back of the truck tips up. The ejector, a big metal hydraulic ram, slides backwards, groom, to push all the rubbish out of the truck. Until I met Dudley, I imagined all sorts of crazy things. I thought I knew how an aeroplane flies, how a clock ticks, how bagpipes get their distinctive sound, how large ships keep afloat, how stars shine at night, how bubbles get into fizzy drinks. I'm really glad I met him. I think. Thanks for listening to my story. Have a good day guys.